Sunday, you saw this guy is not just a running back. He's an extraordinary running back, possibly the best in the league already. So, yeah, along with him comes a certain amount of normal Cowboy superstar baggage, like, is this Ballers? Is this play? Whatever show we're watching here, whatever documentary this is going to be in the future. On Sunday, he is a superstar, and he makes this thing go. So I think they're still pretty pleased with where, his road has taken them to this point.
It's interesting. I grew up with a Cowboys team that had a conservative coach, had a conservative owner, and Roger Staubach was the Christian quarterback. Since Jerry Jones has taken over, it's been about ego. There's some vanity, and it has been, in my opinion, a very loose franchise. Actually, the opposite of the Patriots, which tends to be more restricted, almost anti-star, the culture, the system, bigger than the player. When you look at the Cowboys and the way they're built, which is with stars and with ego and with fun and some peripheral stories, could I make the argument they're talented, Bob, but I don't know if they have the buttoned-up ability to win a Super Bowl, to go through December and January undefeated? Or am I making too much of all these stories that are coming out with 3 and 4 and 5 different players having problems?
Well, I don't think you're making too much of the idea when you talk about the big picture. I mean, the big picture is, like I said, this is my 20th trip around the block with these guys, and I've seen 2 playoff wins, both of them in the wild card round, and that's over the course of 2 decades. That's crazy for a team that gets this much pub, and they're number 1 on the Forbes list for the most valued franchise in the world of any sport. So from a big picture, your point is spot on that they should achieve more than they've achieved. This particular team, the 2017 Cowboys, or let's look back at 2016 for what we know at least, they had a system that suggested it was sustainable and repeatable and a ground and pound offense that just wore you into a fine powder. It was a balanced offense. They didn't ask their quarterback to do magic tricks. They just asked him to use his brain and make smart throws, high percentage throws, and keep moving the team down the field and let Zeke and that offensive line do their thing. And then you have Dez out there that causes matchup problems. You have Witten. You have Cole Beasley. They have a lot of pieces that make this particular team the real deal. Now, are they the favorite in the NFC? I would still say you probably have to look to Atlanta with that. But when you look at the teams around this conference, why can't the Cowboys contend for an NFC Championship game and a Super Bowl? I think this is not the old Cowboys, and that's not an insult to Tony Romo or past group. This is a team of guys who all seem to be around the age of 25 for the most part, and they are very, very good. Travis Frederick, Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, and of course, Elliott is, 22. I mean, you have guys, Dak Prescott is a very young guy. This is a new group, and I think they should be judged on their own merits, not the last 2 decades.
Bob Sturm has been covering this team for 20 years live from the Cowboys training camp in Oxford. Before we let you go, Dez Bryant says he represents the star more than any player. I've always thought that wide receivers in this league are the convertible sports cars of the NFL. They're flashy, they're fun, but when the weather gets cold, you put them in the garage. That said, when Dez catches a touchdown pass, the Cowboys win 70% of their games. How do you think Dez eventually plays out? How much of his ego and disruptions will they tolerate going forward as he gets older? He's had some injuries. He can tune out if the ball's not going to him. You have a young quarterback. Bob, in your opinion, next 2 years, how does Dez and the Cowboys play out?
That's a great question, because I should say at the top of my answer that they did not touch his contract this year. And I thought that was interesting because the Cowboys generally restructure everyone. And when they don't touch a contract, that makes you think they don't want to extend dead money just in case they want to say goodbye at some point. I know it would be very difficult for them to say goodbye to Dez, but I think this is a really big year because since he signed that huge deal, 15 and 16 have not been very good statistical years on any level. Now, going back to what he means to this team, he is the heart and soul in terms of in the locker room. He's the guy people respond to. Now that Romo's gone, he's absolutely the guy they look to. And we should be fair. When he's playing well, he is still an unstoppable red zone threat. Yes. And he is a guy that you have a very difficult time stopping. So I think the distractions of Dez Bryant are, for the most part, something that we use as a past tense around here. And now he's kind of grown into his veteran role where guys kind of respond to him and they look to him. And so it's weird. It's a running offense with a vocal, some would say diva wide receiver. So it's an odd combination. You also have a young quarterback where did he used to defer to Romo in the huddle and now he might overpower Dak at some point. Dak looks like he can handle those sorts of things, but there's no question. This is a soap opera from year to year, and Des Bryant is kind of the eye of the storm right now, and people are looking to him to see how he's going to respond this year. Is he going to play to his contract, which has him paid like Julio Jones, like Antonio Brown, and the best receivers in the league? He hasn't been there the last couple of years because of injury. Let's see how 17 works for him.
Just 15 seconds left. Lucky Whitehead. Now that it's been rescinded, that he was not there, will he be brought back?
I highly doubt it. I think they were ready to say goodbye to him in a couple of weeks because they drafted his successor in Ryan Switzer. It's a ridiculous thing. They're having trouble even cutting a guy right, but I doubt Lucky will be brought back.
Bob Sturm, thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
All right, there's some Cowboy updates. The latest with Derrick Rose going to the Cavs. That's next in L.A. This is The Herd. So this... It made some news yesterday. Derrick Rose agreed to a one-year, $2 million contract with the Cavaliers. I have no problem acknowledging. I've never been a fan of Derrick Rose, never got it. I didn't think he was terribly smart. He can't shoot, is not a willing defender. Once was quoted saying, "It's not my job to recruit other players," when LeBron James was in Cleveland thinking about playing for Chicago, and the best player in Chicago was Derrick Rose, and his quote was, "It's not my job to recruit other players. It's absolutely your job to recruit other players." That's what LeBron did, D. Wade did, Steph Curry did, Klay Thompson did. That's what you do. You recruit other players. He's also the guy that called the Knicks a super team, not Golden State, and they finished 31-51. Derrick Rose is also the guy the fawning media fell in love with. Maybe you've heard the story before. Dynamic point guard, can't really shoot a jumper, can't shoot threes, and gets an MVP trophy. Sound familiar? Not Westbrook, but Derrick Rose. He was also the guy that signed a $150 million shoe deal a couple years with Adidas. The fact he could not stay healthy and stay on the court. It was a bad contract for Adidas. He just signed it for $150 million, and he couldn't stay on the court. And then he went to a press conference in Chicago, and they asked him about basketball. Again, he just signed a $150 million shoe deal and couldn't stay on the court and stay healthy. And they asked him about basketball, and here's what he talked about.
My mindset was just making sure that I was working out every day and spending as much time as possible with my son and focusing on them two things.
Oh, that's nice.
Making sure my family is financially stable. As far as you see all the money that they're passing out in this league.
Money?
And just telling the truth. And just knowing that my day will be coming up soon, and it's not for me, it's for PJ and his future. So that's what I'm thinking about right now.
This is a guy that's never understood the temperature of the room. It's not my job to recruit LeBron. No, that's what the smart players do. The Knicks, not the Warriors, are a super team. I just signed a $150 million shoe deal from really a blue-collar city, Chicago, but this camp I'm worried about getting my money. By the way, he could have chose the Lakers or Cleveland, and he blew this one too. He'd actually play for the Lakers. He could actually potentially be their first or second leading scorer. He could actually have influence on the Lakers. He really could. He wouldn't stay forever, but on a young team, he could have been a go-to guy on an emerging young team. Or he can go to the quickly evaporating, wildly dysfunctional Cavaliers, where LeBron likes the ball, so does D. Rose. LeBron likes shooters, D. Rose can't shoot a three. And where if Kyrie Irving isn't traded, he'll just rot on the bench and play garbage minutes. Once again, Derrick Rose and the NBA fanboys fell in love with him. I never did. He just doesn't understand the temperature of the room. And even yesterday, another opportunity to make a smart decision. And as a Laker fan here, people out in L.A., better off without him. But it would have been the better choice for Derrick Rose. A young, promising team, he would have had influence, or rotting on the bench playing garbage minutes for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And LeBron will not be there, potentially, in 1 year. I was talking about the Dallas Cowboys, and we're just going to, throughout the course of the next 2 weeks, when we have opportunities to go live at the Cowboys camp, we will. I said this a few minutes ago. The Cowboys' schedule, I've never seen anything like it in my life. Of their 16 games, 12 of them would qualify as what you would believe to be national TV games. The Giants at Denver, at Arizona, Green Bay at Washington, at Atlanta, Philadelphia, Washington at the Giants, at the Raiders, Seattle, and Philadelphia. 12 of their 16 games would qualify as national TV games. Now, think about the best organization in the NFL, New England, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick. I looked at their schedule. Only 4 feel like national TV games. Rematch in the Super Bowl, Atlanta, at Denver, at Oakland, at Pittsburgh. Outside of that, Jets, Bills, Dolphins, Saints, Kansas City, Carolina, Tampa. This is going to be, whether it's a good season or it's a bad season for the Dallas Cowboys, I do not ever remember a season where virtually 8 out of 9 weeks for the Dallas Cowboys feel like the biggest game of the week in the NFL. Not just because of their brand, but because of their talent and who they're facing. It is going to be a really fun ride. Hour 1, Hour 2 next. We'll go to Oxnard, California again. It's The Herd. This is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, live in Los Angeles, iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, FS1. Christine Leahy is joining me back from her high-end, high-retail European...
Well, there was some retail involved. Let me just say, but that's because you don't have to pay taxes on stuff you buy in Europe, so you might as well.
Fly over there just to shop and eat French fries.
That wasn't necessarily my objective, but while I was there.
So I want to say this before I get to my guest, my friend Jason Whitlock, that no matter how successful somebody is, there's always luck. Now, nobody's going to be successful solely on luck. I mean, you can win the Powerball, but that's just financially, that's just a financial windfall. It doesn't mean you're successful. It just means you had a bunch of money fall on your head. But by and large, even really smart, successful people, you need a little luck and you need a little timing. Now, success isn't about primarily luck or exclusively luck. But if you looked at Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook, the man who owns this company, Rupert Murdoch, there have probably been breaks along the way. You need those because heavens knows there's a lot of bad breaks. And I'm sitting here thinking about the Lakers. I see this story yesterday that Carmelo Anthony and the Oklahoma City Thunder, according to Bill Simmons, are circling each other. It doesn't feel right to me. I think they'd have to give up Steven Adams. I don't see that happening. But I'm thinking to myself, is it me now, or are the Lakers getting break after break after break after break after break? Some of it they've created, some of it's just darn lucky. So if this story is true, think about this. They get the number 2 lottery pick, Lonzo Ball. And actually, it was better than having the number 1 pick because to a lot of people, Lonzo was not the best player in the draft. So the number 2 pick is perfect. You don't have the pressure of the number 1 pick. You get the number 2 pick, we'll take the local talented kid. Some of that's just luck. Then you find a team willing to inherit the Mozgov contract. I never thought they'd get rid of that. And in the process, you got another draft pick and Brook Lopez who can actually play. Then your rival in the city, the Clippers, trade Chris Paul. And then you sign a 2-guard, convince him he had options. He's exactly what you need. A 2-guard that plays defense and shoots threes, and he's repped by LeBron. You then win the Summer League, which is not a big deal, but it does send the vibe out to NBA players. Damn, this Lonzo guy, it's something. Then you get Paul George, who says he wants to get out of small town Indiana, right? Indianapolis, gets traded to an even smaller town, Oklahoma City. That's a break. Could have gone to Boston. Could have gone to a Chicago. Maybe never leaves. He goes to OKC. Then you get Kyrie Irving wants out of Cleveland, creating chaos for LeBron, who now probably wakes up thinking, maybe I should leave. And now Carmelo If there's any chance Paul George could stay in Oklahoma City, you add Carmelo. So now he'll never get a shot, or at least the shots he wants at the end of the clock, end of possessions. It reminds me a little